Simcha, celebration, Simcha, Simcha, celebration of life.
Hi from me, Jared Epstein, bringing you another episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. As you know, lockdown and COVID-19 has forced us all to navigate the online world like never before. So today, you'll be introduced to one of our first online video call interviews. Creative Gatherings is a grassroots community building music and performance arts project. Joint founders Alon Cohen, Yael Gabransky, and Moshe Singer tell us more.
Hang on the hemisphere, hang on the flickering lights, hang on, don't walk alone.
The reason why Creative Gatherings started was because certainly for me, I had this need to be part of a community similar to being part of a summer camp or, this need to be part of something bigger than yourself. And I wanted to do this project to bring people together, to create a platform for performance artists, not just music. I wanted to have a platform so people can do poetry and they can do juggling and fire stuff and interesting tricks and puppetry and music, all kind of like a showcase, an eclectic mixed variety show. And for me, my talent is music. So I kind of started with that, running my own little kind of thing. And then I ended up meeting up with Yael Gabransky, and we just connected chemistry-wise with the music. It just worked out beautifully.
Take a look at my boyfriend, well, he don't really give a lie.
I had met Moshe years back when I'd come to visit family in 2006, and in 2013 I moved back to South Africa to pursue a master's in music therapy, and he was already organizing some music events like Wolfpack Studios, and he knew we wanted to collaborate, so we worked together and kind of started performing together and doing shows.
And then Alon Cohen came on board. Alon had this passionate desire to be part of something, but he was also a musician wanting to play the drums.
My first time going onto the stage and performing was on a Creative Gathering stage behind Moshe, and I've come a long way since then. When I watch my first videos from my first gig, it's incredible to see my personal progress.
And then we decided, let's call ourselves something, and we decided to call ourselves Creative Gatherings.
They'll come true, impossible not to do.
Looking at the color design for Creative Gatherings, I chose the colors blue and red specifically because blue represents the color that's in line with Chesed on the 10 Sfirot, and red has to do with Kabbalah. And everything that falls behind it has to do with this giving and receiving and giving and taking in this world. And if you look at Creative Gatherings, the words, it's gather is in blue and cravings is in red. And it's the whole idea is that you satisfy your cravings. What cravings are they? I mean, you have this craving to perform, to get yourself out there. And then, but what do? You gather. And then if you look at the rest of the words, it's completely arbitrary. It's completely random. And that's exactly why it's so gorgeous, because we want to be eclectic. We want to be random. We want people to come from all over and share.
My role on the team is very much a technical on the day, during events type of role, and then in aligning up the post-production so that we can produce the best content that we can from every event. And the other thing that brings is I always bring a couple of guys to work cameras. Oftentimes these guys are underprivileged and this is their first time or their only real opportunity to use a camera in a professional environment. And they get to film, record, see how the audio works, see how the video works. And it's another element that, Creative Gatherings is training and upskilling and bringing people up with it. So as we do well, we're bringing people up with us. And that's kind of the idea.
As a music therapist, I always wanted to also give back to the community and think about ways of involving people, empowering people, where it's non-judgmental and people feel comfortable to share and express themselves while also still working on their craft and their professionalism and their music skills, and how to market themselves. So that's kind of where it started for me. And it's been a great way to connect with people socially and to meet new people. And it's very, very fascinating to see how it impacts other people as well.
We counted recently that we have officially done about 15 shows since that first one in November of 2017, which is incredible. And last year, we did an amazing show for Sukkot on the rooftop of the Genesis Hotel, and we called it, it was an Ushpizin. So an Ushpizin is every night of Sukkot, you invite a different matriarch or patriarch from the Torah into the sukkah. It's rooted in the idea that, you bring in the energy of that patriarch or matriarch. And some of the artists who we've collaborated with, we asked them to speak about their ancestors on that night as well. So while we were talking about, Moshe and Leah, some of the African artists who performed, they spoke about their ancestors as well. And the whole idea of protection, which is incredible.
So come around, show some love when you get some time. It will be nice to see you there. Azuri Street Symphony.
Moshe has this thing. I feel like he's the only person that can bring, South African people together and Jewish people together in a way that's really authentic. It's not just they're at like a mutual event. They're at an event together. The connection is shared. The unity is shared. And I think that's important for Jews and South Africans, people that Jews effectively didn't come from South Africa. But for us to connect with the people in a way that's wholesome and it's pure and it's human, that for me is the most valuable way that humans living in the same place can connect, is as humans through music, through love of mutual things and through things that are very basic.
Being Jewish is a very big part of my identity. And I find that there's this concept of tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. And that is very, very similar, or it goes hand in hand with the concept of Ubuntu, of giving back to others. And I think within the Jewish community and outside of the Jewish community, it's so important to expand and to preserve those ideals that you have, but also expand and reach out to other communities as well.
This is part of, for me, Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam has to do with healing the world. And I feel like Creative Gatherings is something that is able to mend people's hearts, mend people's desolations.
Through Creative Gatherings, I touched and met a whole section of the Jewish community with a whole different mindset that I hadn't experienced growing up. And what it meant, it allowed me to see talent in the community, it allowed me to understand my own community in a larger sense, and it allowed me to connect to my own community while connecting with South African people, and they were all connecting together, and that's just something that hasn't happened my whole life. Everything was very insular, very much in a bubble.
Thank you.
Rochel Goldman is a powerhouse in the Jewish community. She takes on the role of not just mother to 11 children, but leader, rebbitzin, teacher, and friend. We learn more about her and her many roles she takes on.
I'm a teacher. I enjoy reading, I enjoy studying, I enjoy philosophy, especially Hasidic philosophy, and I enjoy nurturing other people and my own family. I originally came from Cleveland, Ohio. That's where the Rebbe had sent our family. My parents are from Russia, so I have 3 older sisters born in Russia. I was born in France on the way from Russia to America. Then we arrived in New York, and 6 weeks later, the Rebbe asked our family to move to Cleveland, Ohio, and we lived there over 50 years. I am a mother of 11 children, thank God. The Rebbe was pushing people to have large families, and because I have a lot of faith, it's got nothing to do with money, it's got to do with faith, and he was always saying that God gives blessings to every child that you have, you get more blessings. Also, we have to rebuild the Jewish people after we lost so many. So basically, I'm a mother of amazing children. If anybody asks me how many I have, I'll say one of each kind, because you know in every family everybody's very diverse. Children are very different to each other. They all come from the same mother and father, but they all have their own creativity, their own uniqueness, their own beauty. So I've got one of each kind.
She not only bore them, but she gets the credit for raising them, especially when they were younger. And I confess to being an absentee dad for a long time in those years. And Rochel, bless her, was really the pillar of the home.
And probably one of the best things that my children got from living in South Africa was that the secular, Jewish, and sport was all like very much integrated. There's a Jewish saying called Ahavat Yisrael, love your fellow Jew. That means that you grow up knowing that you're going to be helping others, loving others, nurturing. And for my kids, I think the example that my husband and myself set for them, that we always had an open home, we had lots and lots of guests all the time, and they knew how important they were, but they also knew how important it is to help the world. Besides the Rebbe, who was a role model for many people in life, my grandparents, I had a grandmother who was in Russia, the most wanted woman in the KGB, because she did false passports for people to leave Russia. I had another grandmother who went through a lot of sacrifice because her husband was taken away at the age of 37. He was a Moel. He brised children. He also studied to be a doctor. And she raised 6 children on her own, pretty much. My mother was the eldest. And she really set a great example of faith. And though they didn't have a lot in Russia, when she passed away, she was the matriarch of the family. She left over 600 grandchildren, blood relatives, and basically she taught them an amazing examples of sacrifice and beauty in life and connection to the Rebbe. Originally, when I first came to South Africa, I was teaching for a little bit. I was always assisting my husband as the Rebbitzin of a shul. But aside from that, and I did programs. For Sydenham Shul, I had something called Sunday Stretch. Stretch your mind, body, and soul. I had something called Rosh Chodesh evenings, where we always took a secular speaker and a Jewish speaker, and we put them together on a subject, like say the subject of marriage. So we would have somebody who was a therapist or somebody who would, and we'd get an average of 250 to 300 people. And I organized the Jewish Women's Week. And that was amazing because it was 800 people who attended at the Connoisseur Hotel. And I really, really wanted people to understand the vastness of Jewish insight. One of the things I did, I started an organization called WOW, Women of the World. I had 3 mission statements. One of them was funding education, because I saw that a lot of Jewish schools needed educational funds. We also helped Black schools and other places because I gave Molitzani their first computers, their first library. We helped a place called Pace College. You know, I told every woman that I encountered, I said, with your business, if each one of us would take one school and help them, then we'd have a middle class here in South Africa. And that's what I was busy doing for many, many years. So my one mission statement was funding education. The other one was promoting a positive South Africa, because since I arrived in South Africa, people have been sitting on suitcases. I love this place. I know it has issues, but so does the rest of the world. And South Africa has many blessings that people do not recognize. And I think that when we start being positive about the place we live in and we start building and growing, we could do so much better. What my other statement was nurturing women, because I feel that if women are nurtured, then the family is nurtured, and then the world is a much better place. So we did amazing programs. We did a lot of beautiful beauty mornings. And what I started in South Africa was having a spa morning, spa for the soul, and we included spa for the body. So that was the kind of things that I used to do. Mornings for women, brunches once a year, dinners. We used to get at our dinners something like 700-800 people. And I had people like Grassa Michelle speaking, and Helen Zille, the governor of the Reserve Bank, Jill Marcus, and some very, very prominent people. Besides Women of the World, for many years I had a class that I would give to women at my home for like about 10-15 years. I had groups of women that came to my class. I used to teach brides and grooms. Actually, my husband taught the grooms and I taught the brides. So for many years I was teaching brides, bat mitzvah students. I teach them to bake challah because that is one of my passions. There are so many beautiful, mystical, spiritual, and amazing reasons why one should bake challah. So even if I don't stay home for Shabbat, I try and bake challah because it brings such blessings. And my husband says that I've taught more people to bake challah, and everyone's always telling me that they love my recipe because it's foolproof. It always works, and it works very well. But right now, I'm in the process of thinking of what I'd like to do for the next few years. I'm at the stage and age where I'd like to be available for my kids when they need me and be able to travel. And at the moment, my aspiration is to learn and study and grow.
What better time than now to talk about an ancient prayer like Ana B'Koach? Sarah Evian joins us yet again with that beautiful Scarborough backdrop and words of wisdom in part 4 of the Prayer and Connection series.
Prayer is the bridge that enables us to step outside our known selves into a reality beyond. And we learn that where our attention is, that's where our energy goes. So if our intention and our attention is towards longing for something greater, then what happens really in prayer is that it is a space where we can recalibrate ourselves. And the sages tell us that before prayer, you should enter between 2 doors. In order to enter prayer, you enter through 2 doors. And what that really tells us is that one of the doors is to move away from our normal mundane selves and our life as it is when we're so busy with our physical work and everything that we're running around doing. And the second door is that we're entering into this new pristine state. Those are the 2 doors through which we enter. And so it's very important to quiet ourselves, sometimes with breath, sometimes with meditation, sometimes with song, or just with quietness. But the point is that through prayer, we actually go out, we raise ourselves above our normal way of thinking, and this enables us to attach to a higher level of our souls that we don't normally have access to when we're in our normal state of being. And so this is very important if we pray daily to recalibrate ourselves each time and be able to receive higher messages from our soul print. So this is a beautiful piece in the book. Prayer is a spiritual midwife, assisting the birth of our ultimate dreams and aspirations into the world. It is not a monologue, but rather a space for profound dialogue. Our prayers are heard, and through prayer, we open ourselves to hear. Hashem, the divine, is always listening, but it is especially during the time of prayer that we encounter this infinite presence. Prayer is the time we take and the space we make to hear the Creator speaking to us and through us. So the prayer for this section is called Ana B'Koach. It's probably the most well-known Kabbalistic prayer that everyone has heard about. And Kabbalah is the mystical knowledge of the Torah. It is the hidden secret knowledge that is encoded in the letters and the words and the hidden, it's almost like the soul found within the body of the letters. And Ana Bakoach has 42 words, and 42 is very important in the Kabbalistic tradition, because the creation is created through 7 days, and the seventh one is the Shabbat, or the day of rest, or the encompassing, the mode that encompasses all of the others. And so 42 is 7, the wholeness, times by the 6th, which is of creation. Shabbat is somewhat out of creation. And these 42 words mirror. There's a 42 letter name of God, which is one of the highest names of God. And we also know that the Israelites, once they left Egypt from slavery on their way to reaching the land of Israel, which is the form of freedom, they made 42 stops. And so the Ana Bakoach prayer really mirrors this process of moving through a constricted space of consciousness into an expanded space of consciousness, from slavery to freedom. And it's a very, very beautiful prayer that many tunes have been made to the song. And so this is the Ana Bakoach prayer. And I'll just read the beginning of it. We implore you, Hashem, by the power of your right hand, release all those in captivity and undo this entanglement that we have. Accept the prayer of all your people. Strengthen and purify us, awesome one. Please, mighty one, preserve those who seek your unity. Guard them like the precious one. Bless them, purify them, and always grant them your compassionate righteousness. Holy protector, with the abundance of your goodness, watch over and guide your congregation. Unique, exalted one, turn to your people who are mindful of your holiness. Accept our entreaty and hear our cries. O knower of mysteries, you who know all hidden things. And so this Ana Bakoach prayer is said at the portal of leaving the Ruach, the Nefesh section behind, and moving into the Ruach section of prayer.
That brings us to the end of this week's episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a Facebook message at Spirit Sister Productions. From me, Jared Epstein, and the Simcha team, try to do ordinary things in an extraordinary way this week.